Anyway, so antibodies, antivirals, we think we can also have very early in an epidemic a thing you can inhale that will mean that you can't be infected, a blocker, an inhaled blocker. We also need to fix the three problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking.
So it looks like Bill Gates is in Australia to talk about his worldview, mRNA shots, and more.
Not just for when the epidemic comes, but to go to the world's countries and make sure that these drills are being done. You know, we do fire drills. You know, the Defense Department does war games.
We'll listen to and react to two clips that I found of him speaking there. And comedian Louis C.K. is back doing interviews and comedy, which is great. I don't think he ever should have gotten canceled, but he's preaching for open borders in America.
But my feeling is they should open it, the border, and just let them pour in, let everybody pour in, and then the answer, which is, well, then there'll be all these problems. Yes, there should be.
Yikes. We're gonna listen to that whole clip and react to it as well. It's gonna be a great show today, folks. Thanks for joining me. We're live now.
The Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles, yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. We're going to talk about Bill Gates in Australia, two clips I found from that, and then Louis C.K. on open borders. Not that anybody's taking border or political advice from Louis, but I thought it was interesting and worth the share. So Bill Gates, for me, everybody gets censored for different things. Obviously, if you talk about big pharma, most social media is pretty much like a cover-up operation for big pharma. Any sort of criticism, whether it's true or false, it doesn't even matter if you're 100% accurate. They try to cover it up at all costs. So everybody's gotten censored for certain things, whether it be conservative things, election things, pharma things. For me, the number one thing that's probably gotten my account in trouble more than anything is talking about Bill Gates. Even though I do, if you've seen my videos from 2020, I'm very accurate. I show clips, I show facts. I don't overstate what I'm saying. I say exactly what's happening. I don't exaggerate. Yet, for some reason, Facebook and other social media, they don't want me to talk about Bill Gates or show clips of Bill Gates, even though he's this massive billionaire that's constantly doing quote unquote philanthropy and influencing decisions around the world and doing a lot of stuff. It's like this has been my forbidden fruit for whatever reason. So I don't really care. I'm not going to stop talking about it. I've had videos with 9 million views, 8 million views deleted because I showed clips of Bill Gates prior to 2020 talking about how there could be a pandemic from a bioengineered terrorist virus. This is what he said years ago. I didn't say this one was that. I never made that statement. I just said, here's a video of Bill Gates talking about that this is a possibility that one day there might be a pandemic from like a terrorist virus. He literally said that before. Okay, here's the video. That's all I show. They don't want you to see that. Okay, then delete that video off the internet and pretend like he never said. I don't understand what they're doing, but I do understand what they're doing. They're covering up for big pharma, and they're basically creating a state where you're not allowed to disagree with what they're saying and what they're doing, which would negate the quote-unquote democracy that they always claim that they're doing. Anyway, here's the first clip of Bill Gates basically talking about the mRNA vaccine and the future of fighting whatever. You'll see for yourself. Let's watch.
Anyway, so antibodies, antivirals, we think we can also have very early in an epidemic a thing you can inhale that will mean that you can't be infected, a blocker, an inhaled blocker. We also need to fix the three problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection. And they have very short duration, particularly in the people who matter, which are old people. And every one of those things is fixable. In fact, doing that work is going to help vaccinology very, very broadly.
I mean, he's pretty much admitting that these products that they blasted to the entire world have fallen short of ones that are actually more effective. I mean, that's pretty much what he's saying. Hopefully next time we can get ones that block infection, because obviously that's what they tried to do, whether they admit it or not, that are more effective in elderly, et cetera, et cetera. This is why I like listening to Bill Gates. And it's not because I like Bill Gates or I agree with Bill Gates, but Bill Gates has this weird tendency to be more transparent than people really want to give him credit for. I'm not saying he's like the most honest person. We have almost like completely opposite worldviews, but he'll show you his reading list, and in his reading list will be how to lie with statistics. So I read the book. I'm like, that sounds like an interesting book since they always lie with statistics. The entire book is about how they lie with statistics, how the government lies with statistics, how the big pharma lies with statistics. If you read that book, it even mentions something about what was the original vaccine that everyone always talks about? They're like, well, this vaccine really worked. They even talk about big pharma with vaccines, basically talking lying with statistics in that book. I mean, that's just the truth. So it's like, as sneaky as many people think he is, he actually does stuff like that all the time. It's like, here's this book about how people lie with statistics. And I'm like, okay. And then even during the pandemic in 2020 or whatever, they're interviewing him like, what about long-term trials, Bill? And he's like, well, if you want to wait for long-term, you got to wait for 2 years. If you want to know the side effect in 2 years, you got to wait 2 years. Like, he's oddly, although he is not my favorite person, he does speak this stuff. And it's like, I'm not saying this with any sort of pride because I voted for Trump in 2020, but Bill Gates is more honest about the vaccine than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a bigger salesman for the vaccine than even Bill Gates is. And I'm not saying Bill Gates isn't in on it. I'm just saying Bill Gates will get up there and be like, yeah, I mean, like next time, hopefully we can get one that's like, actually stops the transmission and works better in elderly people. Like, basically without saying it, he's like, yeah, this one doesn't work as well as we kind of hoped, and we're hoping for more. And then you watch Donald Trump and he's like, this saved 100 million lives. It's the greatest human achievement. Like, Donald Trump is literally a bigger liar for big pharma than Bill Gates. And that should be really sad to people. But nobody wants to call it out, I guess, because they want trips to Mar-a-Lago and they just want to turn into the new rhinos and fight the rhinos while hanging out with the rhinos and employing the rhinos and working for big pharma, but they don't want to talk about it. I get it, but I'm not interested in that. Anyway, that's what it is. I mean, it's pretty shocking. I'm going to watch the clip one more time because I just want to see it again. Oh, yeah. And one thing that's weird to me, too, real quick, is he was talking about a spray for your throat. I don't watch that many movies, but my friend was like, you should watch Glass Onion. It's this like Netflix documentary or movie. It's interesting. It's like a murder mystery or whatever. In that thing, they're getting on a boat. And before they get on the boat, I think they spray their mouth with something. And they don't tell you what it is. And it's like, what is this spray? So the biggest show on Netflix is like basically normalizing this spray that you're basically forced to do. In Glass Onion, if anybody's seen it, they mandate the spray. You can't come to the island without the spray in your mouth. And coincidentally, a couple weeks later, Bill Gates comes out and like, yeah, we're working on a spray that would. So just like they mandated vaccines, they could mandate the spray or mandate another product. I just find that interesting. I'm not saying they planned it for the fact checker idiot losers who watch my videos and try to stop what I'm saying. But I did notice that, if anybody else did. So let's watch the clip one more time and we'll go watch another one.
Anyway, so antibodies, antivirals, we think we can also have very early in an epidemic a thing you can inhale that will mean that you can't be infected, a blocker, an inhaled blocker. We also need to fix the three problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection. And they have very short duration, particularly in the people who matter, which are old people. And every one of those things is fixable. In fact, doing that work is going to help vaccinology very, very broadly.
It's weird that Bill Gates is actually more transparent with the vaccine than Donald Trump and Albert Bourla. Like, if you listen to everybody else, they're like, it's the greatest thing ever. It's the greatest thing ever. It's the greatest thing ever. It's got no flaws. It's perfect. I mean, it saved the world. I'm the greatest thing. Space Force. It's like, but you listen to him and he's like, there's three problems with the vaccine. We got to solve the three problems. What does it mean if there's three problems? What's a problem? Look it up in the dictionary. It's not a good thing. So he's admitting publicly, basically, that, I mean, we can all not address the elephant in the room because it like gets you banned off social media because most companies are working for big pharma directly or indirectly. So they just silence all criticism of big pharma. It's a really evil scheme they have going on. But when they said the efficacy was 100%, you couldn't say it wasn't. When they said it was this, you couldn't say it was that. They had, and then it's like breaking down, everybody's getting it, whatever. And then he just pretty much admits what everyone already knows. But am I even allowed to report on that? I don't know. It's like it's like he says it, but then you can't report that he said it. In 2020, Go try to find the interview on my social media, on my Twitter. They asked him, but Bill, a lot of people are having side effects, a majority of people in this study. And he's like, yeah, it's just like a little hurt. It's just a pinch. It just hurts. And then she's like, but what about long-term safety trials, Bill? It was like a CBS interview. And he's like, if you want to wait 2 years to find out what the long-term side effects are, you got to wait 2 years. We're working at a fast pace because of a pandemic and we're taking certain risks. Like, he admits all that stuff where you can't really find that many other people. You can't really find videos of Fauci or Trump or Albert Bourla saying that type of stuff. And then I show it to my audience. I'm like, look, he said that in order to find out side effects in 2 years, you got to wait 2 years. And then like Facebook's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, we don't want you to show that clip. It's like, I'm sure you don't, but I'm going to show it anyway. Here's another one. I haven't even watched the full one, so this will be like an authentic reaction. But this one was going super, super viral. I saw it multiple times, so I want to watch it for myself. Let's watch.
They have some of those skill sets, and their work was incredibly beneficial. The WHO is going to need more resources to have a dedicated team, not just for when the epidemic comes, but to go to the world's countries and make sure that these drills are being done. We do fire drills. The Defense Department does war games. We need for epidemics to practice. In fact, one of the reasons why Australia did well is that it, like Taiwan, was threatened by SARS-CoV-1. And so this idea of, okay, who are these PCR people? How do you get them engaged? It was partly practiced because of that previous threat. And so we need to be doing every 5 years a really comprehensive exercise at both country and regional level of pandemic preparedness. And you need a global group that's kind of scoring everybody and saying, hey, if you're not participating in this, you could be the source of the next pandemic. And that's bad for the entire world. This is like a fire that goes global.
So I guess he's just mentioning the war games and the drills that they do, the fire drills, and then like that's super, super necessary. Here's the thing. With all of these drills, we've all seen them, like Event 201. Once again, social media tries to prevent people from seeing them. I had videos with 8 million views on Facebook, 9 million views, like 4 million views. They're always trying to target when I talk about Bill Gates or when I talk about Event 201. Yet, even the fact checker, I did a whole like mini documentary because I was so annoyed at these losers that tried to shut my stuff down. But it's like, it's just interesting. You know what I'm saying? I understand that they're practicing, but at a certain point, like, let me give an analogy with schools. I personally think school shooting drills are bad because I think they're planting the idea to shoot somebody in these kids' heads. If you do 20 shooting drills a year and you have hundreds of kids that are all jacked up on pills and just like mentally ill out of your school of thousands, how many of them would have never even thought of that stuff every day, but you're planting the idea in their head. So we have to be really careful when the prevention method ends up hurting the thing that we're trying to stop. Because I think that like shooter drills are a horrible idea and they should stop. I don't think they've helped save any lives. I think they've only planted that idea in kids' heads when they wouldn't have even thought of it organically. That's just my personal opinion. When it comes to gain of function research, which does and doesn't exist depending who you listen to, but everybody knows that it is a real thing, like somebody's doing it somewhere, and it is hotly controversial, gain of functions, when you're studying things for vaccines to come up with new cures and stuff. But you're taking viruses like bat coronaviruses that can't transmit into people and apparently getting them so they can. This is a theory. I mean, I'm not like fully well versed on all of it, but I do understand the generics of it. And a lot of virologists think it's a bad idea, including people at Johns Hopkins, Rutgers. Like, it's very controversial. It's not like everybody agrees with everything. But the point that I'm getting is, like, when does your virus research or your vaccine research become a net negative when you're doing risky stuff? I mean, you're not even as a citizen allowed to have that opinion, but too bad I do. So when it comes to these war games and stuff, I'm not saying that they're not protecting themselves. And I get censored falsely for saying this, but I'm going to say it again in the right wording. And if that loser gremlin pizza bagel eating operative fact checker scumbag wants to fact check me on this again, I'll make another documentary exposing your ass again. Excuse my language. But the point that I'm trying to make is, when he says we're going to get all of these countries together for war games, right? And this is how we got to react, and this is how we got to react. And then a virus comes or a pandemic comes, and every country starts acting in unison. It's not random that everybody's acting in unison. That's their global strategy that Bill Gates and others want them to practice. But let's say when it's all said and done, I'm just doing a hypothetical, okay, for the loser fact checkers, but they do all this stuff. They do exactly what they did in the war games. They shut down travel, they shut down schools, they shut down beaches, they shut down parks, they shut down society. Kids get fatter, right? People get fatter, people get more depressed, people get less healthy. And when it's all said and done, it would have made more sense to just stay open and go for either herd immunity or whatever we have now, because there's hundreds of millions of people vaccinated, and hundreds of millions of people that are vaccinated are still getting sick with the thing that the vaccine's protecting them from. So it doesn't even really stop transmission, like Bill Gates said. So when it's all said and done, was it a good idea to lock down the whole world? I mean, obviously, I think no. But why did they all do it? Part of it is because they did it, but another part of it is they do these war games. They do these practices. And when you practice doing that, sometimes, in my view, you overreact and do it. But, these are things that they're going to keep doing, whether I believe it or not, and just something to think about. But, even having that view is difficult. And when it comes to people like Bill Gates, I'm just going to wrap it up because I want to get to the second clip. Facebook, YouTube, Google, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much every social media except for Twitter, because Elon Musk is not going that path. But for the most part, it's like they need you to agree with everything. Like Elon Musk says that population collapse is a problem, and Bill Gates thinks the opposite. He talks about population growth and abortion and birth control and how to basically give those tools to people in Africa and stuff or whatever, so there's a fundamental disagreement. Like Bill Gates is not stupid. Elon Musk is not stupid. Bill Gates is a billionaire. Elon Musk is a billionaire. They fundamentally disagree on the concept of how many people are on Earth and how many people are growing over time, and if population growth rates are a concern or population collapse rates are a concern. Because you look at Japan, they're talking about population collapse, not population growth. The point that I'm getting is there's a fundamental debate to be had there. Elon Musk and Bill Gates, I've been talking about it for years, they completely disagree on how to basically, solve that problem because they don't see it the same. And that's okay. You should be able to debate science, and you could see things different ways. But on social media, it's like you have to believe everything Bill Gates says. You have to agree. If you don't agree with Bill Gates and Big Pharma and criminal Pfizer and all of these, like if that's not your worldview, then you need to be banned from society. It's like, it's not true. It's not fair. It's not right. And I want to say Los Angeles, I saw that they closed down beaches the other day. My buddy, Venice Beach Dub Club told me, but they're closing down a bunch of beaches because they spilled a bunch of sewage into the ocean. And I looked up, someone in Canada told me Justin Trudufis did that too. And there's like some reports, I don't know if it was him directly, but there was sewage spilled into a river in Canada. And here's how the liberal media brainwashes environmentalists. Some of the most disgusting cities for the environment, for the ocean, are liberal cities like Los Angeles. They're destroying the ocean. They're disgusting. They're just spilling sewage into the ocean that doesn't need to be there, like accidentally or by, I don't even know what the reason was, but it's so gross that they're closing down beaches. Los Angeles is filthy, disgusting. It's an environmental hazard. Talking about a border, I think we should border up Los Angeles and just put a huge hazard sign on it. The whole city is absolutely disgusting. Okay, I used to live there for 8 years. I love the people there. There's some good culture. Disgusting city. The whole thing needs a hazard sign on it. With that being said, where are all the environmentalists? Do they care that they just spilled raw sewage into the ocean? They don't give a crap because they've been brainwashed by the fake environmentalism that's being pushed by everyone. Oh, we got to care about something in the future, 50 years, and if we don't do this and that, it's like, look at the ocean. They're being destroyed by liberals, but the people that are destroying the ocean are brainwashing you to talk about changing the percentage of the climate by 0.5% over the course of 30 years. If you get rid of nuclear power, oh, now we don't have power. It's okay. You know, I'm not saying that the climate's not changing because it changes every time the sun goes up and the sun goes down in every season. But as far as how they're telling people and what they're telling people, it's like, yeah, you have to believe everything Bill Gates and Greta Thunberg say, but just ignore the fact that they're spilling raw sewage into the ocean and there's billions of disgusting masks because they force masked you for 2 years and that's going all over the ocean. But ignore that and just march to the tune of not paying attention that left-wingers and their cities are absolutely obliterating the ocean and the planet. But whatever. Here's Louis C.K., the scholar. I'm just kidding, but talking about open borders, and this was my like Instagram reel, just kind of combating it.
But my feeling is they should open it, the border, and just let them pour in, let everybody pour in, and then the answer, which is, well, then there'll be all these problems. Yes, there should be. It shouldn't be so great here, is what I'm saying. In America, it shouldn't be. It's a weird thing to sequester a certain group of people and try to keep upping their lifespan and their lifestyle, and just keep trying to increase that for this group of people, and then this pressure of people trying to come in so they can enjoy it, and then it gets worse and worse down here. I mean, I'm not Canada. It's really just from down here. There's something wrong with that. That's not a system that's working.
It's a pretty nice watch you have on, Louis C.K. I wonder why everybody doesn't have that same watch. Weird. Maybe you should make your property public. Why should you have a nice house and nice property when other people don't? I bet you have a spare bed or a guest room somewhere in one of those places. Should you let some homeless people stay there? Or you know what, even better? Why should you even have a nice house and nice property and wealth and nice watches when there's other people that don't have that? Shouldn't you move down to Skid Row and live in a crack tent? Practice what you preach, buddy. When everyone was trying to cancel Louis C.K., I never hopped on that train. I never wanted to cancel him from working or speaking. But now I do think we should deport Louis C.K. to one of the worst homeless streets in Los Angeles, and he'll fit in better there because unlike Hollywood, people there don't mind if you jerk off in front of others. Thanks for watching this video. Black God Bless beanies are back at dreamrare.com. They're back in stock now. And remember, Louis, it's for your head, not for your head. That's right, folks. Dreamrare.com. We got the black beanies back. They're for your head, Louis C.K. For your head, not for your head. Okay, they're big. They're bigger hats. So people are saying he's joking. Obviously, he's a comedian. Let me just say this. I'm not trying to cancel him. I never got on the cancel train. I don't care what his kink is as long as it's not like illegal and doing stuff with children. But you know, as far as like his little thing where he wanted to, you know, play with himself in front of, like, listen, I was like, I think he should still be able to do comedy. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I never got on the train to cancel him, and I'm still not trying to cancel him. But I did listen to the Joe Rogan interview because I think Louis C.K. is really funny. Back in high school, college, I thought he was the funniest comedian. But I'm listening to him on Rogan, and he is just like a typical left winger. You know, he doesn't really think. His opinions about the world are pretty stupid, which is fine. It's like, just do comedy. I don't mind. I don't have to agree with everything. But with open borders, it's just so funny in my opinion. One, I think I'm going to give a shout out to Nuance Bro because he nailed it on Twitter. He said, at least Louis C.K. is admitting that opening the border wouldn't be good. He says it's bad, but I want America to be worse because why should America be good when everything's around it's bad? So at least he admits that opening the border is worse because most left-wingers say, oh, we're opening the border and it's better for you. It's better to have open borders. It's better to have no security. That's good. You know, which is not true, obviously. It has nothing to do with racism. It's just like basic security. It's the same reason that, you know, Gavin Newsom walks around the streets and says the Second Amendment's terrible, but then he's got like 3 armed guards by him. It's bad because you don't need it because you have the money and resources to have other people with guns near you to protect you, but normal people don't have that luxury. But okay. At least he admitted that, yeah, it would be bad, but I want America to be worse because why should it be good? Okay, sure. I'm totally fine with you having that worldview. Your theory is America's a nice place and Mexico's not as nice. I'm not saying it's not beautiful and there's not a lot of things, but it's not as maybe wealthy economically and it's a little rougher in certain areas. So your theory is like, let's just open the borders and make America worse because we don't deserve it. Like white people and whatever you want to say, America, like it doesn't deserve to be like so nice if other places aren't nice. He's wearing a nice watch that everybody doesn't have. I'm sure he lives in a nice place with a guest room or multiple guest rooms that other people don't. The hypocrisy is so annoying. He's going to go away from that interview and live a life of luxury and wealth. And while he's flying in his plane and doing all this stuff, there's going to be crap all over the streets and homelessness stuff. and he's not going to live there. So just practice. If you want America to be crappier because we don't deserve nice stuff because other people don't have it, why open your house, sell it, or just let somebody else live in it and squat in it and go live on Skid Row because you don't deserve to live. Like, he's never going to do that. He's just another idiot loser who's trying to destroy America. Don't care about his comedy anymore. I'm not canceling him. I think he's funny in certain cases, but listening to Joe Rogan, I'm like, man, the world has really passed this guy by, and he's just another stupid, brainless, completely self-hating left-winger who wants to ruin everything for everyone else. So good luck with your comedy, but, move to Skid Row. People don't care if you jerk off in front of others. In fact, that's welcomed on Skid Row. That's like status quo. I'm sure he'd fit in there better than Hollywood anyway. With that being said, I want to say Project Veritas, just a few things I want to go over before I end the video. I'm going to keep it under 40 minutes. Project Veritas did this whole Pfizer expose. I think it's their most viewed video on Twitter. I'm not going to fully speak on it because I think if you watch the video on social media, you can learn more yourself. They do like undercover reporting. Even Newsweek could not say it was false, which shows you interesting, because they're usually like quick to shut things down. But they're even saying it's unverified. They don't know if it's true or not. Well, maybe Newsweek, you can ask the questions. Maybe instead of saying, I'm not sure if it's true or false, which you're doing, which is fine, maybe you should interview Pfizer and ask them if they're really doing that type of work. That would be more journalistic, but whatever. GP said, I think open borders gives them more excuses, reasonings to do away with the Constitution. I think that's definitely a part of it. Thanks for the super chat. So, check that out. The James O'Keefe Project Veritas drop. It's just interesting. And I think, I've said my piece about Big Pharma and Pfizer so many times. I think people know where I stand. And, I don't think they're really interested in anything but pushing their product, making money. And, when this product came out, I think that was their goal the whole time. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what this product really is. But in general, I don't think they really gave a crap if it was the greatest product ever made or the worst product ever made. I don't think that was going to deter Facebook or YouTube. Do you think, let's just say we're living in this alternate reality, okay? And it's the worst thing that's ever happened ever in human society in Big Pharma. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, let's just say that's a possibility. Do you think Facebook was going to allow me to report on it if all that came out? Do you think YouTube was going to allow me to report on it? Do you think they were going to admit if the product wasn't good? Do you think that's even an option for Pfizer or Moderna or any of these social media? Of course not. I'm not saying, I mean, clearly it doesn't block transmission. Clearly, they don't want to talk about side effects, et cetera, because they don't have any, lawsuits for them protected under the PrEP Act as of now. But does anybody think in their right mind? And I saw, this is not a I told you so. It's more just like I hope people pay attention and really arm themselves with information, because a lot of this stuff was obvious just based on their past, based on who they are, based on what was coming out. This information, like Scott Adams, Scott Adams is like now admitting that he was lied to because he was pushing it. And he's like, how do I know the truth? Hey, please tell me, guys, who can I listen to know the truth? How did you guys know, but I didn't know? He's acting like a little kid, even though he's 60. That's fine. Good cartoonist, not good at pandemics. But in general, how do I know? Who do I listen to? Scott, you could have listened to me, but you blocked me. I don't care. He doesn't have to follow me. He could block me. But it's like, you really want to know who knew what to do? I'm not the only one, but I'm definitely one of the ones. Watch my reporting from 2020. We gave you all the information early. So, this was always, in my opinion, predictable. And unless Big Pharma gets reined in and held accountable to some extent for what they've done in the past and in the present, then they're just going to keep doing it. So for a lot of people, this isn't a big issue. For me, this is a big issue because what happened with Big Pharma, it's not just like, oh, the next president, stop talking about vaccines. It doesn't matter. Some people like them, some people don't. Yeah, I understand that. I'm not doing that. What I'm trying to tell people is if you look at this whole pandemic and the whole lockdown, it's not just Operation Warp Speed and vaccines and what Donald Trump says. It was socialism and communism, in my opinion. It was the shutdown of an entire country. It was the socialist scheme of Big Pharma. This was not capitalism. They got $16 or $18 billion from the government. They're free because the government's buying them. This is not capitalism or free market. This was socialism on the cusps of communism. They shut down skate parks. You know what I'm saying? They printed money. Trump, McConnell, Pelosi, and then Biden, when he got in office, they printed more money than has ever been printed in American history. And now you see all this inflation inflation. It's not just the war, and it's not just Biden. Those are part of it, obviously. Both are bad, but it's also the money they printed in 2020 and beyond. So I don't see this issue with Big Pharma as like, just let Trump get away with it. He doesn't know, he's so stupid, he gets fooled by his advisors. I don't think you get freedom. They took away basically our First Amendment to even speak out against the lockdowns. You couldn't even protest at a certain point. So I'm talking about our First Amendment. I'm talking about capitalism or the free market or the Constitution. I think this issue with pharma is related to everything. And let me not even get started with the food supply. All the food you eat, how is it being made? What pesticides are they spraying? Who owns the seeds? Companies like Monsanto and Bayer that have merged. Big pharma is now big agriculture. They've swallowed up our food supply. They've swallowed up our mainstream media. They pay more ads than anybody knows. They've swallowed up the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. They swallowed up Biden and Donald Trump. They paid $1 million to Mitch McConnell in Kentucky to build a new facility. So now the new Republican facility in Kentucky is being built by Pfizer. They're paying $1 million because it's not even legal to do that. They found a loophole where they're just building Mitch McConnell's new property for Mitch McConnell. Pfizer is building the Republican. They've swallowed up both parties, the media, social media, the food supply. They've helped usher in, with the help of politicians, a socialist money printing scheme that has made all Americans a lot less rich than they were before. So this isn't like a small issue to me. It's everything. There is no freedom or conservatism if we don't nip this in the bud and really get to the bottom of what's going on. And I'm going to, just name a few things real quick. Between the, debate / conversation I had with David Harris Jr. yesterday, and also, reports coming out, there's an RNC chair, race going on. Ronna McDaniel, who is, I think, Mitt Romney's niece, Ronna Romney McDaniel. She's a Romney, you know what I'm saying? And she's been in charge of the RNC chair for a while. This new lady, Harmeet Dillon, who's a lawyer, in my opinion, better option than Ronna Romney McDaniel, but whatever. And then you have like Mike Lindell fake throwing his hat in the race. He's never going to win. God knows what he's doing, but good luck. And you have those three going against each other. And, reports are coming out that Donald Trump is trying to help Ronna Romney McDaniel win the RNC chair. He's going around the country with Lindsey Graham. As Bill Gates is admitting that these vaccines have 3 problems and they want to solve them, Trump is not admitting that and basically saying he saved the world and he saved 100 million lives. So, we're at there's basically a lot of disagreements now with DeSantis and Trump and Daily Wire and Crowder. There's a lot of fighting going on right now. But when it comes to Trump, there's 2 fundamental disagreements, I think, that me and David Harris have and others. To certain people like David Harris, we talked yesterday, you could watch the whole interview. It's like Trump is their George Washington. They think that their job is to basically be a loyalist and basically softball him and, ask him some things, but not ruin, the trips to Mar-a-Lago and ruin that's my in, and like he's really, let's not talk about that. I'm going to stay in my lane, and like we need to just kind of like assume that he's going to do the right thing. And people in that, they keep saying like he's getting fooled. We know he's getting fooled. He's wrong. Everybody knows he's wrong, but like we're just going to assume that he's going to do the right thing, even though he's doing the wrong thing and nobody wants to correct him. Like we look up to him as a leader, but we think he's too foolish to know what we know. Like he doesn't get it. Like that's kind of like the lane that people are in. Like he's this leader that we're following, yet he's too foolish to really know the right thing. But we're just going to assume that he's going to do the right thing, even though he's not right now, and everybody knows it. And then I come from kind of a different perspective where it's like, if Biden's getting $60 million from corporations, they're not giving him the money because they like Joe Biden. They're giving Joe Biden the money to control Joe Biden. So if you're a Democrat, your job is not to say, well, Joe Biden's my guy and, we're going to fight Donald Trump. Your job is to be like, well, Joe Biden just got $60 million from corporations and they're probably manipulating him, which they are. Donald Trump got $100 million for his inaugurations for corporations. He got the money from Pfizer, just like McConnell in Kentucky. And it shows. He came into office as a vaccine skeptic. He turned into a vaccine salesman. He pitches the COVID vaccine harder than Bill Gates does right now. He won't let it go because he was the one who rushed it through, which in my opinion is a crime against humanity to rush a 5-year vaccine in 9 months. I mean, that's horrible. And obviously the results, that's what happens when you rush a vaccine. In 9 months instead of 5 years, you get the COVID vaccine in Operation Warp Speed, a product that you can't speak out about that clearly is not doing what they originally thought it was going to do. But in general, it's like I think that just like Biden or Mitt Romney, Trump needs to be called out because he's taking the money. He's selling out. He's hanging out with rhinos. He's helping Ronna Romney McDaniel. He's helping Lindsey Graham, who's trying to start World War III. Like, I get what people are doing by not calling it out, but I don't understand like where that's going to go if you don't nip that in the bud too, just like with the big pharma stuff. So I fundamentally disagree with people on that. And one thing that people keep telling me is like, well, like if it's not Trump, then who? Like, what happens if Trump fooled us? Like, what if he's not the guy? And to me, it just reeks of weakness where it's like, what do we talk about Grover Cleveland still? I'm not saying Trump's like done with his career or anything, but it's like, do people like, what if it's not Grover Cleveland? I mean, what if it's not like, Eisenhower? Like, what if it's not Nixon? What if it's not Reagan? Like, eventually people grow up like adults and move on, and there's going to be a new leader, left wing or right wing. So like, what do you want to ride Trump's coattails for 1,000 years? Like, if he's not the guy, he's not the guy. I wish he was the guy. I wish he was who he was in 2016. I think in 2017, everybody was like, Trump's the guy. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't get fooled by the deep state. He'll hire good advice. Like, there was so much optimism because there was no excuses, because there was no need for excuses. And people can lie all they want because they want to be in with the in crowd and get the opportunities. But the truth is, the movement doesn't have the same energy. In 2018, there was no Trump is stupid, Trump is foolish. Like, now his best friends and his best advisors and the people around him are not saying Trump is right. Trump is doing all the right things. He's going to hire the right people. He surrounds himself by good people. He's going to drain the swamp, give him time. He's going to lock her up. The energy is different. All of his closest people are like, he's dumb and foolish. Like, I love Trump, but he's getting fooled. Like, okay, like, I like Michael Jordan, but he constantly gets fooled and he loses all the games and he gives turnovers all the time. But then he's not the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if your leader is dumber than you are on one of the most important topics, then like, it's not, people don't have the same energy rallying behind Trump. He's surrounded by a bunch of yes men who, in my opinion, just want the opportunities around him and to kind of climb the corporate ladder. But then you turn into the rhino that you claim to really take on. So I understand the fundamental disagreement. It's like, some people think we need to ride or die for this guy. Who cares what he do? Who cares if he takes $100 million from corporations? Who cares if he takes money from Big Pharma? Who cares if he sells the vaccine harder than Bill Gates? Who cares if I fundamentally disagree with him? I'm going to ride that until the wheels fall off. Well, the wheels are going to fall off, in my opinion, and I see it differently. If people wake up and call out their politicians, then you might actually get change. And I think, with David, it was a nice conversation, and obviously it got like slightly heated, but I'm glad it happened because I do believe it was productive, and he did say he was going to ask Trump questions. But the truth is, it's like, everybody on the right wing, and it's not just David or anything, there's hundreds of people like that. They're acting as if they don't call out politicians all the time. Like, people have created entire careers out of basically being professional activists and ranting about Democrats, Republicans, Fauci, rhinos. Like, that's what they do. But then when I do the same thing with Donald Trump and point out what he's doing and how he sold out, then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying? You're not a Christian when you criticize Fauci and Lindsey Graham, but all of a sudden you're too Christian to criticize Donald Trump, and you need to focus on yourself. I agree. Focus on yourself. I need to focus on myself. But if you're not focusing on yourself for your entire career, but then when it comes to Trump, you just need to not talk about it because you're a Christian, like, it's just phony. It's fake. You know what I'm saying? People are just fake. They have to act stupid because they don't want to lose their little cog position in the machine. But it's like, at a certain point, then you just turn into Marco Rubio. That's the same thing he wants to do. He doesn't want to lose his position. So he does have this. It's no different. So I think that, people's strategy is basically like, call out everybody except for Trump. And mine is, if he's taking hundreds of millions of dollars too, it needs to be spoken about. He ran on the position of, I don't need their money. I'm not taking their money. And all these people take the money and do what the corporations and the donors tell him to do. He took all the money. He called Marco Rubio, you're going to turn into Sheldon Adelson's perfect little puppet. Donald Trump ended up taking money from Sheldon Adelson. He identified when he ran, which is why he won in 2016, Sheldon Adelson pays off politicians to get them to do his bidding. Trump knows that. He ran on that, and that's why he rightfully won. He said Sheldon Adelson will pay off Rubio, and Rubio will do what he said. Trump took Sheldon Adelson's money. Trump did what Sheldon Adelson wanted. He is the perfect little puppet. Trump took more money. I could show people because I still have it here. how much money he took. And I showed it to David, and I understand, like, it's just like, well, I'll just assume that it's not going to be different. And that's, it's I get it, but it's wrong in my opinion. So I just want to show you real quick, just in comparison. Pfizer and 10 other corporations donated $1 million to Joe Biden's inaugural committee, totaling $61 million. So this is their little scheme. You see this. Once Joe Biden wins, all of the corporations swarm because who do you want to lobby? Who do you want to give money to? Well, Joe Biden, because he just won the election. You get what I'm saying? So all the corporations swarm Joe Biden once he wins because they want influence in his White House. And guess what? When you give $61 million, you get influence. You get sold out. Donald Trump ran on, I'm not going to take their money. He took more money. He took he broke a record. He almost doubled Obama's and took $106 million. He doesn't need their money, but he took their money. And I proved once again, he also took money from Pfizer. So what I'm trying to ask David or all these other people respectfully, maybe not respectfully enough, but it is what it is. Ask him why he took $1 million from Pfizer. Now his new campaign, when he ran in 2016, it was, I don't need their money. I'm not going to take their money. They can't buy me. I'm so rich. They're losers. I'm going to drain the swamp and arrest Hillary Clinton. That's what he ran on. That's why he won. Now he's not even running on that. He's not even telling people he won't take donor money and take corporate money, because he absolutely will take donor money and corporate money. He's not acting like he's not going to hire pharmacy lobbyists, because he did hire pharmacy lobbyists, and he's going to hire pharmacy lobbyists again. He's not even addressing the questions of rhinos because nobody challenges him. I follow a lot of people that are going really hard at Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Because you have to understand, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the ultimate Trump loyalist, okay? I like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's always been nice to me, but she's a Trump loyalist. She'll do pretty much, in my opinion, whatever Trump says. She's trying to, get in with the next Trump administration, maybe be vice president, maybe be something else. So basically, it's like, I know a lot, but let me just agree with Trump and, go his route. So when Trump was telling people to endorse McCarthy and vote for McCarthy, Marjorie Taylor Greene said vote for McCarthy because she's listening to Trump and she's just not trying to rock the boat because she wants to get a position or something. Okay? So here's my point. Listen to me. There's a reason I'm saying this. I watched influencers absolutely decimate Marjorie Taylor Greene, go after her, call her names. And listen, I don't care. Okay? She's in politics. She's a big girl. She can handle it. Okay? It's not her first rodeo. But I'm just saying, everybody was ravaging over Marjorie Taylor Greene, trying to destroy her life, destroy her character, destroy her political career. And then Donald Trump did the same thing, and the same people trying to destroy Marjorie Taylor Greene's career said nothing about Donald Trump doing the same thing. I'm not a part of this movement anymore because it's like a bunch of liars and hypocrites. Like, you're mad at Marjorie Taylor Greene for listening to Donald Trump to vote for McCarthy, and that's a deal breaker for you that she voted for McCarthy because she listened to Trump. But when Trump says vote for McCarthy, let's just all act stupid because we want to go to Mar-a-Lago. Let's just all act stupid because we have to be stupid in order to even pretend like this is our guy still. What? Like, it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. If you're going to go that hard at Marjorie Taylor Greene for listening to Trump, but you have nothing to say to him, what? It doesn't even make sense to me. Okay, and then you have Lindsey Graham, the ultimate warmonger. I mean, he's more responsible for this war in Ukraine than most politicians. He was over there trying to start a war in 2016. Lindsey Graham is the worst rhino of the rhinos. And Donald Trump, his first show of the year, his rally, he's not putting David Harris on a stage. He's not putting DC Drano on a stage. He's not putting, his biggest loyalist on a stage. He's putting Lindsey Graham on a stage. He's not putting, anybody who's speaking out. But no one else wants to talk about it. What, like, so it's almost like his campaign is like, I'm going to take their money. I'm going to sell out. I'm going to work with rhinos. I'm going to sell big pharma products. I'm going to be a rhino. I'm going to help rhinos. I'm going to vote for McCarthy. I'm going to vote for Romney McDaniel. And you supporters just have to shut up. It's almost like Donald Trump is like controlling the influencer class. And I'll tell you what, and this comes from a public video from Candace Owens. And I want to tell you a little bit of why nobody wants to like challenge Donald Trump, because he's savage. if anybody remembers Candace Owens' not documentary, her interview, I would say Trump either gets two things. He either gets a left-wing interview, and left-wingers are psychotic. Like, I don't even consider them real journalists anymore. They're not asking any good questions. They're not pressing him. They're always just doing stupid stuff. And then when the right-wing interviews Donald Trump, it's a softball interview for the most part, and no real issues are addressed. So Candace's documentary, I know Trump knows Candace Owens. He's worked with her on black conservative stuff or whatever at the White House. So I think that Candace was like, okay, like, I'll do an interview with Candace because she loves me. But Candace was like, you know, I do like Trump, but I'm going to ask him a few real questions. Like, to Candace's credit, she asked him about Julian Assange. She said, why did you not pardon Julian Assange? That was the first time Donald Trump was ever asked that question, because nobody else wants to give him a real interview. So to Candace's credit, she could have pushed back more, but she was the first semi-real interview that Trump's ever had, asking him about Julian Assange and pushing back a little bit about the vaccine. So what happened after that interview, Donald Trump said he saved 100 million lives, and he said that it was the greatest human achievement in modern history. He literally said that. Greatest human achievement in modern history was the COVID vaccine. Nobody believes that, okay? Not even Bill Gates believes that. Bill Gates is like, there's three problems with it. It's the greatest human achievement. He's a bigger shill for Big Pharma at this point than even some of the worst people. Okay, so now Candace is in a rock and a hard place after, and she spoke about this publicly. She said, everybody's getting mad at her because she didn't push back enough, and the media is saying this, and the media starts siding with Donald Trump because he's pushing the vaccine. And Candace basically came out and roughly said what a lot of people are saying, which is like, Trump doesn't know much about pharma. Like, that was she was trying to like make an excuse for Trump because like she didn't want to like lose her relationship, but she also didn't want to look like a sellout. So I feel like Candace was like, Trump, he's like a boomer, basically. Like, you know, he just doesn't understand this stuff, because that's what everyone's assuming. Trump knows, he's sold out, but yeah, we can pretend, whatever. Okay, so she's like, Trump doesn't understand this stuff. And then, you know, Trump, apparently, she said in a public video, this is not private, she said it publicly in her video, that Trump got pissed off at her for trying to help him. So it's like Candace gives him an interview, Trump lies, Candace tries to help Trump because she's in a rock and a hard place, and then Trump gets pissed at her, and now she claims that Trump doesn't like her anymore. So the reason no influencers that go to Mar-a-Lago want to question Trump is because Trump doesn't allow it. He doesn't want to be questioned. He doesn't want to be told the truth. He wants to basically control all the influencers and say, listen, I know you hate rhinos, but I'm going to put Lindsey Graham on a stage. I know you can yell at Marjorie Taylor Greene because she doesn't have as much power as Donald Trump. So you could try to rip Marjorie Taylor Greene apart because she voted for McCarthy, but you better not talk about me because I told her to vote for McCarthy. You know, why not go after Trump for that, for what Marjorie did? This is what all the influencers do. They don't want to lose their position at the Mar-a-Lago dinners and the you know, the whining and dining. So it's like they rail at rhinos for doing what everyone else is doing. So you get what I'm saying? It's like there's this big thing where he's controlling people to be like, I'll take the money, I'll sell out, I'll work for Big Pharma, I'll try to hire Bill Gates, I'll do all this stuff, I'll work with all the people you guys hate, but you know not to question me because I'm your daddy and you don't want to lose everything. You can't do real journalism against me. Just go off and talk about Mitch McConnell, but don't talk about me. And everybody does it. I'm the only one of the only ones not playing stupid. There's a few others for sure, but the point that I'm getting to is there's a fundamental disagreement about how to kind of move forward. Some people want to play stupid and say it's all going to just work itself out if I play dumb. I don't believe that's true. And I think that a lot of us got our start calling out reality. And you know, we owe the people of this country, and we owe, you know, like, if we're going to be successful, and a lot of us are going to gain wealth off of being able to basically report news and be, in some cases, professional activists or news analysts and stuff, like, in my opinion, it's our job to maintain integrity, stand up for the Constitution, speak the truth about stuff, call out both sides, and not just like, you know, turn into like a political operative that's not actually interested in that stuff. Like, you know, I'll just give you an example. This isn't happening, but just a quick example. Like, if Trump gets $100 million from Monsanto. I'm not saying this happened, but example, if Trump gets $100 million from Monsanto and starts spraying more pesticides and destroying the food supply, is it your job as a Trump supporter to say, hey, that's bad, you can't do that to the food supply? Or is it your job to be loyal to the guy selling out to Monsanto and doing that to the food supply? To me, my loyalty is to the country, to the people, to the food, to the thing that we put in our mouth, not the guy getting paid off by the industry. But a lot of these other Trump supporters, their loyalty is to the guy getting the money and their loyalty is to zip their lips and not say anything about it. To me, that's being wildly disloyal to the country and just doing a poor job at what you pretend to do, like just being a hypocrite. Like, it's like if Biden infringes on the Second Amendment, we're all going to post about it. But if Trump does it, we're going to act like it never happened. If Biden infringes on the First Amendment, we're going to talk about it. But if Trump does it, we're not going to talk about it. If they sell out, if Fauci pushes the vaccine too hard, we're going to make videos about Fauci. But if Trump pushes the vaccine too hard, we're just going to make excuses for him. And you're not a Christian, you know. I mean, you should be more Christian if you talk about it. I mean, focus on yourself. Even though my whole job is not focusing on myself, but you should. It's like, okay, you know, I understand that everyone has a path and a lane, but like, I'm trying to be good at my job and tell the truth, not grift my way into a position where I could be the new Marco Rubio. But, you know, to each their own, and there's always a different strategy. But, you know, fundamentally, I don't see it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to keep this under an hour, but God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Someone said, look into the Eliza Blue situation, bro. I don't know the full extent, but I understand that she has some video on World Star Hip Hop, and if people post pictures of it, that she's taking it down or something. You know, that's not my drama to really get into. She, you know, I think the quartering's banned from Twitter. I'll say this, I don't think he should be banned. If you have a public video and someone screenshots a public video, you shouldn't get banned. So, you know, I'll just say the quartering should be put back on Twitter, and anybody that got banned for posting pictures of the video, because it's a public video. So I don't understand like what's going on there. Someone said, what does this have to do with him? He's not in office. You continue to blame him. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to keep it brief, okay? If George Bush tells you to go fight, we're going to keep it real simple, okay? If George Bush tells you to go fight the Muslims and go start a war, and it ends up being a 20-year war with trillions of dollars, and then you don't even own Afghanistan, and they're rebuilding, but just like BlackRock's going to rebuild Ukraine and make trillions of dollars off the backs of Ukrainians and Russians, same thing happened in Afghanistan. If I speak out and say, hey, I'm not a Democrat and I vote Republican, but I don't agree with this war, I think George Bush is lying, and I think the Patriot Act is actually an anti-constitutional act that's going to, you know, they're going to use the Patriot Act not just to go after radical terrorists, but they're eventually going to use that to go after conservatives, which I believe they did. If I would have said that in the 2000s, people would have said to me, Anomaly, what are you, a Democrat? Anomaly, why are you blaming George Bush? He's the best we have. He's not in office anymore. That's just the reality. George Bush fooled Republicans and made them give up their own rights and start a war against their own interests, and now you have Drag Queen Story Hour. So instead of repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again, why don't you learn how you got fooled by the last Republican? And then Obama came in. I'm Obama. I'm half black, half white, but you know, I play basketball. I like Kendrick Lamar. I'm so cool. I'm just like you. And then Obama gets in, and he's going to be this liberal that's going to change the game, because just like Trump, he's outside the system. He's so new and fresh. And Obama comes in 8 years later. You know, he's just like Mitt Romney. Who cares? Why even vote in that election? Mitt Romney versus Obama. What's the difference? John McCain versus Obama. What's the difference? You know what I'm saying? So Democrats got fooled by Obama for 8 years, and he just turned into another neoliberal establishment warmongering, you know, puppet. Okay. And then Trump gets in and he says, I'm Donald Trump. I'm rich. I don't need their money. I'm not going to take Sheldon Adelson's money. I'm not going to take corporate money. But then Donald Trump took $1 million from Pfizer, over $100 million from corporations. He took Sheldon Adelson's money. He gave his wife a Presidential Medal of Freedom. He passed laws against the First Amendment, probably for that. He infringed on bump stocks. He printed more money in 2020 than Obama even printed. He turned into a vaccine salesman. He hired a bunch of pharmacy lobbyists, and instead of arresting Hillary Clinton, his own supporters got arrested for following him to the Capitol. And he runs around the country after he's out of office selling vaccines for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And I'm just talking about it. The same reason it doesn't make me a Democrat. I'm not doing it because Biden's not terrible. The point is, you're never going to win if your party's not working for you. It doesn't matter if George Bush wins, if he's just like a Democrat. It doesn't matter if Mitt Romney or John McCain beats Obama, because they're basically the same type of person. I mean, think about how phony those elections were. Romney and McCain were the two Republican choices. No wonder why I didn't like Republicans. I never liked George Bush. I never liked Romney, and I never liked McCain. I was never a Republican growing up. I wasn't a Democrat, but I certainly wasn't a Republican. And now I know why. McCain is just as phony as Obama, and Romney's just as phony as Obama. You know what I'm saying? So that election didn't even matter because they controlled both parties. And just like now, you have massive assets companies like BlackRock that own $9 trillion worth of wealth in this country and have stake in almost every company. You have massive industries that swarm Biden or Trump once they win, and they pay them off to the tune of tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. You have a company like Pfizer that's building the Republican building in Kentucky for Mitch McConnell. They're literally building a building for Republicans. They're paying off both parties, and Trump's magically running around the country selling their products. He works for them. So my point is, I'm not a Democrat. They don't do anything for me. Chuck Schumer sucks. Adam Schiff sucks. Joe Biden sucks. But what I'm trying to prevent is another 50 years of us running in circles on a carousel, because just like Bush fooled us, just like last time Trump fooled us, I'm not trying to be Charlie Brown with the football, watching the same thing happen again. So unlike these other professional coattail riders and bootlickers, I'm actually doing real journalism and real news analysis, because I don't think Donald Trump's going to change once he gets in office. In fact, he's way worse than he ever is. He's hanging out with rhinos more than he did in 2017. He's working with all of the worst people, and nobody wants to talk about it. This is the reason I am, because our only solution is the Republican Party at this point. And if they're not doing anything, then the whole game is rigged and fake, and it doesn't matter who wins the election, because you're not getting anything, because the same people controlling Biden are controlling Trump. So that's why I talk about the Republican Party more. I believe in the Republican Party. I think there's a lot of populist energy going in the Republican Party. It's clearly our only hope against mandates and other important issues that Democrats are completely sold out and brainwashed for. So either we're going to get a leader on our side or we're not. It's not going to come through the left. So that's why I talk about it, because all of the mistakes that Trump made and all of the ways he sold us out, he's never been interviewed about it. Nobody asked him a question about it. If you ask him a question, he tries to blacklist you and he hates you. And he just wants to basically control his base through emotions and fake car salesman manipulation into not ever asking about it so he can do the same thing. Why am I wrong for saying, why doesn't somebody who interviews Trump say, hey, Trump, here's the exact question as I'd phrase it. There's two questions that I told David Harris to ask, okay? And if he does, that's amazing. That means a lot to me. If he doesn't, it's whatever. He's a man. He doesn't have to. Donald Trump, this is the question I would ask as a journalist. You campaigned and won the election on I don't need to take anybody's money, and you told Marco Rubio that he turned into Sheldon Adelson's perfect little puppet. You ended up taking Sheldon Adelson's money, Donald Trump, and you ended up giving his wife a Presidential Medal of Freedom after you took a bunch of donor money from him. You said you would never take corporate money, but you took over $100 million from corporations. You took $1 million from Pfizer, and then you shut down your Vaccine Safety Council with RFK Jr. that he was talking about, and you ended up siding with pharmacy lobbyists and putting a pharmacy lobbyist and executive at the head of HHS, and another Scott Gottlieb who left for Pfizer at the FDA. So you said you were going to drain the swamp, but you took the swamp's money and you ended up employing the swamp. And my question to you, Donald Trump, is do you admit you did that? And if you run for office again, are you going to do the same thing? Or are you going to hire outsiders? Because you didn't actually hire any outsiders. You hired a bunch of swampers, and now you're on a stage with Lindsey Graham. You're campaigning for Ron McDaniel and Kevin McCarthy. That's the question. Do you think Trump would be able to answer that? I would. And then also I would say, Trump, most of your base doesn't agree with Bill Gates' worldview. They think that Bill Gates is not on our side. Are you friends with Bill Gates? Did you give him a White House position? Because Bill Gates said you offered him a White House position. And did he influence your decision, Donald Trump, to pass a universal flu vaccine executive order in 2019? Because in the press in 2018, Bill Gates said he came to you and told you that you could be like the father of a universal flu vaccine and you could be such a hero in 2018. And then he said you offered him a position. And in 2019, you passed that through executive order. So did that come directly from Bill Gates? Are you working for him? Are you friends with him? Or is that just a spontaneous coincidence? Two questions. The entire illusion of who he is would be completely shattered, or he'd have a great answer and people would feel more comfortable. But nobody wants to ask those questions. So that's why I do it, because I'm not walking right back into a corporate pharma trap. I don't want a president that takes $100 million from corporations. I don't want, like, why would I want to? The whole reason people support Donald Trump is because they think he's not sold out and they think he's not taking the money, but he absolutely is. The proof is 100% obvious. He's not even pretending to be not a rhino anymore. All he does is work and hang out with rhinos, but nobody wants to talk about it. Guess what? I do want to talk about it. I'll continue to talk about it. And it's the most important issue, because if your party's not working for you, it doesn't matter how much you make fun of liberals all day. You're going to turn into them. You start a war with Iraq and Afghanistan in 2004, and you think you're fighting the radical Muslims. Next thing you know, nothing happened in Afghanistan, and your kids are being transgendered in school at the age of 6 years old, and you're wondering why nothing's working. Well, maybe because it's your party's not working for you. Maybe there's something deeper than it's just the left coming after you. Maybe the right's in on it too. Thank you guys. My new song, Thought Leaders, out at midnight. I'm turning this off now. Link is in the bio. If you want to pre-order, I appreciate it. I'm trying to hit the Billboard charts and send a message to the corrupt and mostly demonic music industry. Thank you guys. God bless. Have a